Hello, I'm General Waffles from the Breakfast Brigade. Let's talk about bans, comebacks, and toxic gameplay elements. So, the new map just came out, the new Diablo map, and I gotta say, it's probably the worst map that they've come out with, in my opinion. The other worst map being the plant map. But that's just because it takes forever. It's been refined. So, this game, Heroes of the Storm, has always been about big comebacks. Like, that was the entire thing. It's like, oh yeah, there's always a way to win. There's always a way to come back in the game. You got your underdog XP. You can push with your team. There's a lot of different ways for you to come back. Controlling objectives, pushing. You had a lot of options to go with. This map, however, there isn't a comeback mechanic. This map requires you to fight over one shrine. And this one shrine will give you a boss that will push and deal damage, along with some other effects that it's mostly targeting heroes, which is cool. Like, the effect is cool, but let's compare that directly to one of their other maps, which is the Sky Temple. The Sky Temple is very similar because you, again, control an objective, and that objective will then help you push and win the game in a more direct sense than with a laser. Now, the Sky Temple map summons up various temples across the map, and it always gives you the option of there will always be the first two at the top and the middle, and then it'll be top and bottom, and then it'll be bottom, and then it'll be top and bottom. This is really important because by the time the top and bottom coming out, it's very likely that a team has reached level 10, and once a team reaches level 10, they have the superior advantage. I mean, you can't really fight a team that's level 10 if you're level 9 or lower. I mean, against an organized team, you'll just lose. The heroics are too strong. So what this offers is that you have the option to actually go to another objective and split up, because if the enemy team decided to split up to control both the temples at top and bottom, you could group together and kill them and take it. Or you could just push them out. This map, however, no. You're over one temple every single time, and you need to kill 30 of these little guys. Another problem, just like Blackheart's Bay, there's a set number of things you need to do before you get the objective. In Blackheart's Bay, you need to turn in a certain number of coins each time before you get the objective. And then every time you turn in, then it increases. So first one you need 10, then you need 12, and etc, etc. It increases by 2 each time. It makes it harder. So once you've controlled the objective once, it's harder to control it again. Similarly, the spider map is the same way, where you turn in the spider butts, whatever you want to call them, the gems. You turn them in, you get the objective for your team, and then the objective goes, and the next one costs 5 more each time, making it harder and harder to do the objective. So you actually have, the enemy team has a chance to catch up and farm up the objective and do it. The plant map, you can collect seeds, you can split up and collect them. The Dragonshire map, if you're behind, your team can death ball and try to catch people, because you have to split up in that to actually control the shrines. If your team is together to continually go around and control one shrine at a time, then their team can't take the Dragonite. So you can actually stop that. The curse map, not only do the curses come up, and they're pretty easy, it's a really big map, so you can split up and push really effectively, and the curses take a while to take effect, and the effect isn't very strong if they lost a lot of members to do it because they can't push. And then finally you get a boss. The boss is a key factor on that map on how you can come back. By picking up a surprise boss or taking a risk and taking boss, the boss can put you back in the game, just like on Sky Temple. And other maps have bosses, such as the Tomb of Spider's Wing. This map, however, now that I've listed all of that, this map doesn't have a comeback mechanic to speak of. There is one objective that comes up every time an objective spawns. And the amount of things you need to kill is 30. It's always 30. It's never not 30. there is no penalty for taking the objective. There is no little help that you get for not taking the objective. Like, when you don't do the objective on other maps like this, it's easier for you to do them. And that's the way you can come back in the game if you were behind and the enemy team failed at their map control and you're able to split up and push. Other maps you can split up and push. That's very ineffective on this map because the objective doesn't take very long and it's not very hard to do. So if you were all trying to split push, you could easily split from the temple and one person can do it. Like, it's no big deal at all. This is a problem. Furthermore, there's a Leoric problem with this map. Now, Leoric, I don't like him. He is what I would call a toxic gameplay element. He does a thing in the game that other characters also do, and it's just strictly better. It's basically a power creep. Like, if you look at Diablo, Diablo has his respawn when he dies, and it's only 5 seconds. That sounds really good. Diablo loses all of his stacks that give him health and regeneration. He loses his tankiness when he dies, every time he dies and respawns in that manner. Furthermore, he has to actually collect enough souls to respawn, so he does not get the guaranteed short respawn. And finally, he has to actually go all the way back to the base and spawn at the base every time he dies. Leoric, however, when he dies, sure, it takes a little bit longer to come back, but you can get that death timer down really far. Like, I'm talking like 30 seconds on a 60-second death timer. That's insane. But the big part is that he comes back where he died, or where he is after he died. He can move and still contribute in team fights while he's dead. This is just like Uther. Uther can also contribute to team fights when he's dead in minimal ways, such as heal. But then after that he dies and has a full cooldown of a death timer. Leoric doesn't. Leoric also, on this map in particular, can walk up to the objective and just clear it. The minions that are being spawned are targetable by both parties. So whichever party kills them, they just die, they get the kills. So Leoric can come up and just consistently take out all of the minions. And that's a problem, because they'll always get that advantage. Every time. This is very similar to the Sylvanas problem with the Cursed Mines. The Cursed Mines, Sylvanas could make the golem push forever, and if there was a time where if you had Sylvanas on your team, and you were on that map and ranked, you basically won the game. Like, the other team had very little chance to win, simply because your passive was that strong. Sylvanas is another character that I think has a toxic gameplay element where it's so hard to actually deal with that against an organized team. Her passive is that strong. Kind of like the Lost Vikings or Murky. They bring something to the team that takes away from the fun of the players on the other team, and there's not a lot of interaction. With Murky, my problem is that you got the Octograb combo. And the Octograb, there isn't really a lot of ways to mitigate that. Especially way early on. Now there's a lot of cleanse walking around. Most supports have cleanse. I think there's like one support that doesn't. I think it's Tassadar. So there's actually ways to counter that now. So it's not so bad. This brings me to my point. Blizzard said very early on, when the game was not nearly as advanced as it is now, that they didn't want to have bans for heroes. Now other games like, say, League of Legends, Dota, you get bans when you're playing ranked. And this is very important because, well, some characters are significantly more powerful and allows you to develop a strategy against it. And when you think about it like that, in a game like League of Legends, you play on one map all the time. And so characters are pretty static to the map. Heroes, they're not static. There's multiple different maps that you can be selected to, and you get to know in advance in ranked, so you can pick around it and pick the characters that are good at the map. That's cool. But some characters are so good at the map that they're almost a win condition for your team, such as Leoric on this new map of the Infernal Shrines. This poses a big problem to the game, instead being what character should we pick and play, to which team is going to get this character that's going to win the game for us. Which character is going to get... most maps don't have this issue. The only maps that have this issue are this map and the... what is that map? The Mines. The Mines map has a similar problem with Sylvanas, where basically if you pick Sylvanas, you have a very, very high chance of winning. Just on the grounds of picking Sylvanas. You don't need to play her particularly well, as long as you can get her passive out and stop the forts from attacking the golems. Here, Leoric can just walk in and cleave the golems down. Of course, on the Skull map, you can easily counter this by pushing and just pushing your face into the enemy's structures while they go down to the mines. That's a way to come back and kind of counteract it. This map, however, no, you can't do that. If you try to push your face into structures, you'll lose. Someone like I said before, Leoric can do the objective by himself. Many people can do the objective by themselves if they're not being harassed by a large member of the enemy team. Because the objective does very little damage, and all you have to do is kill these little guys, and a lot of people have AoE, and a lot of burst. And someone like Kel'Thas, Asmodon, Leoric, Johanna, etc. can just walk in there and kind of kill a bunch of them with really no effort to himself. And because of this, you don't need everybody to check. This is an issue. Now, what I think can actually help mitigate this is by adding in bans, because in ranked mode, it feels really, really, really bad to lose a game because the enemy team just got a certain hero. It wasn't that they played the hero particularly well, it wasn't that the enemy team were significantly better, maybe they're evenly matched, but just on the base fact that they got this character and it won them the game feels awful to play against. I mean, it's really like just taking something away from everyone else in the game that doesn't want to play that character. I personally don't play a lot of Leoric. I don't care for him too much. He's kind of fun, I'll admit, but like, I don't want to be if I'm first pick on this map, I'd feel like I need to pick him simply because the team needs him. Another problem that I have with the hero select, which is in the same vein, you can't trade heroes. Like in League of Legends, I don't know too much about Dota. I don't know if this is possible in Dota, but when you set up you have the pick order, but after you pick, you can trade with another player. So this helps with the pick order because you pick something really solid at first, like a tank, something that you know is really hard to counter, and then you could possibly trade with somebody lower that wanted to play that tank while you wanted to play like some really easily countered assassin or what have you. This game, however, if you're first pick, you're just in that position where you either have to make a poor choice that's easily countered, or you have to choose something you may not be familiar with. Yeah, it's really an issue. Now, this is all in ranked. Now, in quick match, it's a different story. You don't get to choose who you get picked with. You just pick your person, or if you're in a multi-queue, you pick your heroes, and then it's up to you to just get matched with other heroes. And it seems to try. It's gotten better, It's not a perfect system. I mean, in League there's a big problem because you would want to play something and then everyone else would want to play it and you would never get to play it and there'd be arguments and people would get upset and leave. That's kind of mitigated a little bit. However, in this one you just kind of get matched with random people, which is, it's okay, it works most of the time. But when you play on a map like this, Infernal Shrines, and you have a team that clearly can't do the objective well, they can't stand up to someone like Leoric, it poses a big problem. Now, that's just quick match. Not a lot of people really care about quick match for the reason that you're just kind of playing a quick pickup game. You're probably learning characters or you're preparing yourself. That's okay. So things being a little bit unbalanced in quick match isn't a problem, but when you carry this over to ranked, it becomes a major problem. Not everyone is a part of like a big team. Not everyone wants to join up with a whole bunch of people. Not a lot of people have a lot of friends that want to play this game. And if you just want to go into solo or duo or what have you, it's really punishing when you know that you're going to be on a map and you already know in character select that you're going to lose or have a huge uphill battle just based on the heroes that they pick, even if both teams have the same spread of warrior, assassin, support, and specialist. It just feels bad. It's a bad feeling, and I think that bans can really help mitigate that to an extent. And I really want to see that, but this map in particular, which is really what I'm complaining about, I really want to see them fix this map, because I think that it's broken. I think this map isn't functional at all. Like, I would actually rate this under the Battlefield of Eternity and the Skull map. I think it's worse than both of them. Like, people don't like the Skull map, ranked or not, because normally a team gets an advantage and then you win. Especially if your teams aren't coordinated. Like if you're playing with two teams that are fairly uncoordinated with each other, the one that gets a slight advantage wins. Because it's just so fast and the objective works like that. Really quick games. This map is very similar to that, only you don't have the choice of just pushing the lane. You don't have that choice. And it's a problem. You just start losing and you don't stop. Even the shrines, not the shrines, the Battlefield of Eternity, you can still go out and push while the Immortals are fighting. That's fine. And normally you can do that in the early game if your team is more late game focused to get a slight XP advantage, and then it ramps up later on, and you have that early time to establish yourself. I don't know what Blizzard is going to do, if anything, about this, but this is definitely a problem that I believe needs to be looked at. I really think they need to revisit their stance on bans, because I think that bans can actually add instead of take away if they're done properly. And maybe you don't need to go as extreme as 3 bans a game. Maybe 1 ban a game would be enough, because normally, or not normally, but there's only like 2 characters on 2 separate maps that cause issues in a major way, in my opinion. Like, Murky caused issues, but you can deal with it. You can work around it. You can work your team with it. Abathur causes problems. You can work around it. You can mitigate these problems. You know. Another one is Asmodon with his split pushing. You can see that he picked that, and you can work around it. But you can't work around someone like Leoric coming in and achieving the objective with one ability, where and then you can't deal with that. Like, you can't there's nothing for you to do. If he walks in and kills everything in one swing, then once he gets that swing up again, he'll keep doing it. If you kill him, he'll come right back. You know, I think Leoric needs some readjustment in general, now that I'm saying all this. Like, his numbers are too great for what he offers. Yeah. The only one I would say that also offers too much in the game is Johanna. Yeah, Johanna is my absolute favorite character in this game, and I played her more than any other character, but I do think that she is overpowered. I think that there's just too much that she can do that other people can't, and she can do it. She basically just has abilities that other characters have, but all at once, and she's better at all of them. Yeah, that's an issue for another time, though. I'm just gonna let the... I believe that's all I have to really say about the topic. If I kept talking, I'd just start repeating myself. But just to recap, bans, I believe bans need to come in some way, shape, or form. I think that this map, the Infernal Shrines in particular, needs to be reworked in some way majorly. It wouldn't be the first time that they reworked the map. I believe that, similar to Hearthstone with new TGT, the power creep is something that shouldn't exist in a game like this, where Leoric is basically a power creep. Like, he does similar things to what Diablo does, but better. Either way, this has been General Waffles. Till next time.